Hi, and welcome to the VR and Music event. So glad you could join us. I'm Peter Schwinge, founder of Music Industry City, and thrilled to have the opportunity to put this together for you in conjunction with the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment's New York Music Month Extended Edition. I'd like to personally thank Shira Gans, who has worked endlessly to continue the New York Music Month initiative as a series of events for the Extended Edition. And it has over 40 free events that cover all aspects of the music business, and you can find out more at nymusicmonth.nyc. Again, so that's www.nymusicmonth.nyc. You can also find out more about Music Industry City's programming and talk shows by registering for free at musicindustrycity.com. And with that being said, you are in for a real treat. We have some amazing guests lined up, and we're not going to just talk about VR. We're also going to show you VR. Yes, some of our guests will be reporting in from the virtual world. So, who's ready? Let's all give a virtual reality cheer and welcome to Adrian, Rashad, Driscoll, Young Guru, and joining us all the way from AltspaceVR, Celeste, Lear, and Natasha Murray, also known as Illuminatty. How are you? How's everybody? Good to see you.
Good, pretty good.
Good. Happy to be here.
Doing well.
All right, Celeste, Nadi, you good there? Where are you?
Yeah, we're doing great. Thanks for having us on. I'm psyched to be here.
This is so much fun. We're
Likewise.
we're gonna check back in with you in a little bit. So, but first, if you have any questions during the event and you're in Zoom, please comment in the Q&A button. Okay, so use the Q&A button if you are tuning in and you're in Zoom. If you're in YouTube or the other platforms that you might be tuning in from, or Twitch or anything, type in the comments and we will get to them at the end of the talk. And now, let's kick things off with Adrian, Rashad, Driscoll, and Young Guru. Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we are all over the place. We have, I'm here in New York, and you are where?
I'm in
Orange County.
Orange County, LA, and we have people in VR. So did you ever think that one day we'd be tuning in from across the country in a video live stream as virtual avatars and people and talking to hundreds of people about opportunities for musicians to run around in a 360-degree graphic world? I mean, think about this.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, did I think about it? You're a kid growing up watching, Star Trek. You dream about these things. So it's great to see it actually happen, and how it's happening, I think, is even more interesting.
Yeah, I can honestly say I haven't been this excited for like the intersection of music and technology in quite some time. There's so much going on, and we could talk. I mean, we can go on about NFTs and crypto and blockchain and all that, and how it's going to tie it all in. But when did the two of you get into VR?
Well, I'll let Adrian start because he's been in it way longer than me, and he's who's been guiding me through this. So I'll let Adrian start.
All right, Adrian, take it away.
I've been in I've been in VR for 8 years now, maybe 9. But yeah, as soon as I put the headset on, I was hooked. It's such an immersive machine that being able to be transported somewhere else in the blink of an eye, it's incredible. So yeah, I've been in it for 9 years. I've probably shown or introduced over 12,000 people to virtual reality.
That is crazy. I mean, I got to ask, as gear nerds, we could really get into what are you using for gear?
Oh, I'm on the Oculus. Well, the newest Oculus, yeah.
Yeah, I have a Quest 2 as well. That's my primary machine.
Mm-hmm. Right on. So Guru, talk about you come from a massive production background and everything. So as tech heads and we love this kind of stuff, and it's like mixing, creating. So let's talk about how you got into it, and then how did you two meet up?
Well, number one, getting into it was just a natural progression for me. I think it was looking at the VR world, not only from a musical standpoint, but just from a communication standpoint of what was possible. So obviously, from my music background, I'm looking at it specifically and saying, okay, what are the things that are necessary to sort of transfer into this world? It opens up a whole other thing for audio engineers in terms of having audio that can give you directional audio. We need those sort of things. We perk up and say, what's missing or what needs to be done. All of those things were just super interesting to me. Always trying to be on the cusp of what's coming next. And to answer your second question, the way that Adrian and I got together was just super organic. It was us sort of seeing what was necessary, but it's Adrian's vision of him bringing me deeper into the VR world, but me also saying to him, like, okay, well, I have sort of a vision of where I think, and I think we just fit well together in terms of not only access for the artist, but ideas of what you're doing with the actual platform. So a lot of times, artists will look, okay, well, I see this and I love it, but what can I actually do with it? They may not be able to put all of the pieces together right now. So I think that's the biggest part about what we do is seeing it from a complete playing field, but also just, having fun in it and seeing all the things that you can do and coming up with new and fresh ideas for art, not only just for artists, but for everything.
Yeah, I mean, how did you two meet? Like, was it one of those, like, you met and then, like, you're just hanging out and you're like, hey, I got an idea. I want to, like, let's start a company. Let's do all this great VR. So, like, tell us about Collimation. How did you two meet and where did you come up with the idea? And finally, like, how's it going so far?
I'll take this one because it's a dope story. So, like, Guru and I were both mentoring. Guru was on a panel at South by Southwest for Opportunity Hub for the HBCUs. And after Guru's panel, like I'm like, I know who Guru is, of course. And I think a lot of people don't know. Like they say he's, the person you never heard of, And I'm like, no one's gonna talk to Guru. Like he's sitting there and he's spinning and he's in his zone. And I'm like, yo, let me get a second to talk to you. And we linked, and he was so busy at South by, we didn't get a chance to link again. And I don't think we linked for, what was it, Google? Like it was like a year and a half before we actually had the chance to speak on the phone again. So from there, it was just, I had this crazy idea that was it was a seed of an idea at the time. And I didn't know Guru was so into tech. And his ideas were like, okay, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, can we do this? And I know this. And I'm like, wow. So it started this little seedling and then it expanded to, what it is and what it's going to become as Collimation. So he's a different, he thinks differently, and as it's weird because I know tech and he knows music, and it's like we have this beautiful overlap. So I think that's what really made this gel well.
Right on. And Guru, like, coming from, I talk to a lot of world builders that are like building stuff in Unity and everything, and a lot of them are musicians. Some of them like come from the musician side and production. They're like, well, if you can do Logic, you can do Pro Tools, you could do this.
Absolutely. The first time that I even looked at programming because I'm getting myself in the world and I'm like, okay, which one do I want to go with? Do I want to go with Unreal? Do I want to go with Unity? I'm calling Adrian and I'm asking him all these millions of questions about what to do. And then the first time I look at it and actually try to program, I'm like, this just feels like I'm working a modular synth. It's, the working of how the idea of this goes to this process, this can loop back to this, it feels like I'm programming a modular synth. So, the actual idea of making your own world just became something that was like just fascinating to me, and just seeing limitations. And sometimes when you're coming into something fresh and new, you're asking questions that sometimes don't get asked because people will accept the status quo or how things are. So I'm definitely one of those disruptors that comes in and says, well, why does this thing have to be this way? And if I can't get the correct answer, I'm like, well, build it so that it can be the way that I want it to be. That's sort of my way of thinking when I get into it. So it's been a ride so far. And I think that's what makes Collimation special, not just because of the access that we have to artists, not just because of tech-wise, but because of the ideas that we come with. And I think that's what's going to be the biggest thing. We can democratize at a certain point, who can do what. But it's still going to be those ideas as to what you do with the tools that make something better.
Right. Yeah. So how do you feel the past year has affected like the growth of VR? I mean, we've seen like, audio platforms such as Clubhouse take off. because people haven't been out, and there's lots of friendships being made in VR. And like so many people have taken to it, and with the spatial audio and everything, it just makes it like a different type of conversation than a Zoom meeting. And so with that being said, it's like, what are you seeing like for the future that might be like the biggest opportunity, or like for musicians or for the music business to enter this space?
Well, there's so many opportunities, and of course, music is just a small part of it. But I think what our overall thing, and we're talking about education. So number one, we're seeing, people who are forced to be at home because of COVID. And then now we're coming into a situation where offices or just general businesses are saying, okay, why are we spending this much on actual physical space? Do we need to actually be in that space? I'm saving not only on rent, but I'm saving on insurance. I'm saving down to having to have coffee in the coffee maker, all those little things that we don't think about when we walk into a normal business or a normal office. And we're finding that people are a little bit more productive. So then if you take the experience of what you just described and said, okay, well, people are now used to doing Zoom meetings. They're now used to, working remotely. How much better would it be if you're inside of VR for your meeting versus just being on Zoom? How much better is it, when the presentations can be done in this virtual world? So I think that's the biggest thing just in general. When it comes specifically to music, it forced us to go directly to remote. So now everyone was scrambling to say, what's the best way for me to record remotely? What's also the best way for me to sync all of these people together? That's the future of where we're going. And the people that were the forefront of that are now, in a better position than anyone else. But there's so many different things that can be done inside of VR. So, imagine the band being able to not only just play and record remotely, but also get that feel of when you're in the same room with someone and you're bouncing ideas off of them. As a musician and an engineer is different than, I lay my guitar part, I send it to you, you lay your drum part, you send it to me. There's a different synergy that comes about. So again, my engineering side perked up because I say, okay, this is a need and a hole that we need to fill right now because everyone's felt the pandemic already and has realized that this way of working is of the future. So let's give them the tools and let's give them the spaces and not only just the cool space, but the spaces that work for them economically. So for musicians at the frontier of being able to collaborate and put their music up. Now you can collaborate with people all across the world.
I saw, sorry, Adrian, go on.
Oh, no, just to add to what he's saying, seeing VR grow for all these years, and it struggled, and for the longest time, VR was a gimmick. People were saying, hey, let me try to take this thing that belongs in 2D and make it VR because VR is hot right now. 2020 allowed virtual reality to become a utility. And I think that is one of the hugest strengths to say, hey, this is giving us something that's very necessary. How do we truly connect with people? How do we truly push the envelope further as far as person-to-person communication when it's literally legally forbidden for us to have a group? It gave us that, and that's one of the hugest reasons you saw the industry bloom as it did.
Yeah, it's great. So, we go back years, and it's like when VR was starting, it's like, okay, here's a cardboard box you can put on. And it's I can see, okay, this is cool. And even to the extent of like 360 videos, and I was speaking with somebody, and they said they showed their like 10-year-old daughter. They're like, oh, check out this festival or a concert, you can be on stage. And the 10-year-old said, okay, that's cool. Now what?
Right.
Like a 10-year-old was like, oh, wow, this is cool. Great. Now what? I'm bored already. And that's the things where, we see when Microsoft had their keynote a month or so ago, and they were talking about mesh in the future, and things like, it's like you'll be able to like have cameras and be able to like beam into the studio. Like I could actually like walk next to you and so, like point at a fader, like with this augmented reality that's coming, like the mesh and everything. Like we would actually be able to work in the studio together, like and be virtually around the world.
And not only that, you have the ability, just think theoretically, to put yourself in some of your favorite rooms that may not be there. So, physically, the studio business has taken a hit in the past, let's say 10 to 15 years. We've taken a big hit since the emergence of MP3s. So there are rooms that are famous rooms around the world that people love to record in that are no longer there. Imagine taking those dimensions and putting them into a specific room and then sonically having that same thing to say, hey, I want to mix my record at Abbey Road in the same room the Beatles used and have it sound exactly the same. You know, this is where our minds go. This is the things that we see in the future, where your avatar, you know, in this space and you're next to people, but like you said, you're physically touching faders and you're getting the vibe of actually being in that room while you're creating these projects.
Yeah, we're going to talk about faders and touching faders in just a moment when we head over to the VR world, because you have some DJs in there that you have tried, and they use the CDJs virtually and the Panasonic, the mixer, and that is so cool. I mean, it's amazing. And going back, Adrian's like, what are some of like unique worlds you've seen? Like, is there anything that really stuck out? Like, have you seen something that like you're like, wow, this is amazing what I've seen in VR? Not necessarily a world, but just or an event.
You know, I have. I've seen some that were done really, really well. Even not even from a visual standpoint, just conceptually, the bookstore. You know, the bookstore was a brilliant concept for you to say, hey, look, I have this whole catalog of music. I can grab it and I can pick it up, and it's going to start playing a sample as you would at a music store back, like a Virgin Records back in the day. You know, these things mean a lot to people. People want to sample. People want to look at the album art, and those concepts are what's really, really going to push this forward. And I've seen a number of other ones. I mean, I've seen so many I can't even pinpoint one, but you know, I look at the Mario. We'll check out the Mario later. These are things that are really going to push this forward because you're pushing the envelope.
I mean, think of having. We're going to see Mario in a bit, but think about having. And I just saw in the news, and I forgot which stadium it is. One of the football stadiums. They made the end zone a concert area. So now you could have Mario. We're going to go see the Mario Kart, and you'll be able to like have a band playing a concert at like a racetrack. Right.
I think that's one of the best things or examples of what the ideas that we're trying to push forward, where I think when the kid said, you know, now what means, what am I doing in this? So we need to break the traditional ideas of okay, we're going into art and we're going to build out a stage and your band is going to play on a stage like a normal. It's like, okay, now that we have these incredible tools, we need to start coming up with the next version of what entertainment looks is just sitting on a stage. You know, that's not creative. That's just mimicking the real world, when we can then go and say, hey, you know, we can create any world that we want to create at this point. So I think those are the ideas that we're pursuing that are making us different than anybody else. Because I'm looking at this from a standpoint of how can we just flip this on and have to be just the normal performance that we're used to. It's the point in time where we have to realize that we have a new stories, but we still have to tell interesting stories.
All about the story. Adrian, when I spoke to you, we spoke a while ago, and you were always talking about the story and how important that is, and that's what I really admired about like when you were talking about the company and what you're doing. It was like focus on that story and being authentic.
Absolutely. I mean, everything has a narrative. There's a story behind everything, you know, and I think a lot of times we don't look at the most important part as world builders and VR people, the user. You know, how do I justify putting on this headset? How do I make this make sense to mess up my hair and my makeup? And, you know, it's not going to make sense if it doesn't have a solid story behind it. And, you know, and Guru, as he said earlier, he's always trying to push the envelope, you know, so the environments you go to that are ours, he's like, okay, well, why can't we just do this? It's okay, well, this is a limitation. But how big is that limitation, you know? And then Harold and I will go and we'll try to figure it out, and we'll be like, oh, well, it wasn't really a limitation. It was just a hurdle to hop over, you know? That's why that is what makes us different. We want to push the story, and we want to push the boundaries to make sure the story is good for everybody.
And that is so important. And from a musician standpoint as well, it's like, it's not just a performance, it's a story you're telling, and it's an event, and it's an environment, and it's engagement. Hey, so I want to head over to that VR world, and I know you have a world. They're going to hit up a world that you built. Can you just tell us really quickly, kind of tease the audience of what this world is about and when you put it together and what was it for?
This was for a Rhapsody event that we did as Collimation, and it was just incredible. And I'll wait all the way till we get into the world to explain what all the things are. But it was a world that we put together that hopefully we were trying to represent her as best as possible and connecting with the artist. And I think it's a great example of when you nail it, of collecting an artist's personality and delivering them something that they are proud of that represents them as a space and as an area.
All right, guys. All right, you mind hanging out? Yeah, you mind hanging out? And we're going to come back to you in about 15 minutes. But first, we're going to head over into the VR world. So everybody, let's go and teleport. And we'll be back here in a little bit. Celeste. Hey.
All right. Hello. Hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Where are you?
Great. Okay. Well, welcome to AltspaceVR, everybody. We are in what is lovingly known and commonly known as the metaverse. And we are sitting inside of the Music and VR Networking Lounge, which is where Peter and I hold weekly conferences about current events going on in VR and XR world and also filmmaking. And my name is Celeste Lear. I go by DJ Celeste, and I am a music and technology fanatic. So I have lived in San Francisco. I've worked in Silicon Valley as a DJ, as a music producer. Most recently, this last couple of years, I've been an immersive event producer here in virtual reality. Really pride myself on also being a community builder, bringing people together, helping them to, education and networking. It's really important to me to also bring people together to celebrate the good things in life. And since we couldn't do it in real life, we were partying and blowing the roof here in VR, you guys. I'm not joking. And so I am really honored to be here today with Natasha Murray, also known as Illuminatty. And Natty, you are one of the people who introduced me to the VR world partially and got me hooked on partying in here. So I want to just give a brief, I want to give this girl some props, okay? Because she is truly a prominent voice and figure here in virtual reality as a DJ. She's a very futuristic avatar performer. She's also a 3D artist who has just learned how to use Unity and Blender. I mean, this girl is driven, and she's really got this vision that all of us love watching unfold. She has been producing and performing in these reality bending immersive concerts across different platforms, including Sansar, here on Altspace, Wave, Twitch, and Tribe XR. And we're going to talk to her a little bit about her work today. So, Natty, awesome to always be in your presence and
thank you
talk
so
to you.
much.
How are you feeling?
That was like the best intro anyone has ever given me. Thank you.
Well,
so
you deserve
much.
it, girl. You deserve it. So, how does it feel to be 10 years ahead of your time?
Oh, I wouldn't say I'm 10 years ahead. I don't know. I would maybe say I'm a few years ahead of some other people, but people are catching up. It's lots of people are adapting into VR technology and enjoying social experiences in here. And people who just joined a few months ago are already just kind of making their own world, making their own events, creating their own communities. It's kind of amazing to see that.
Oh, and it must be so great to think of how much you've inspired that in these people. One of the questions I wanted to start with is what inspired you, firstly, to get into world building and DJing in VR? When did this happen?
Well, I was actually originally more of a visual artist. I have a background in videography, but mostly creative visual art. So I started out with 2D. But one of the reasons why I was inspired to get VR in the first place was because I wanted to learn how to sculpt in VR, which I learned how to do, and that was incredibly inspiring to me. And then soon after that, I learned how to DJ in VR using a program called Tribe XR. And, those two disciplines kind of came together because music and art just go so well together. All the most inspiring festivals and shows that I've been to have always had some sort of element of storytelling or at least art, creativity. And so I wanted to take that inspiration from the real life and bring it into VR and really create audio-visual experiences for people who don't have access to that right now.
Natty, honestly, when you first sat down with me and told me about the concerts you were producing, I had to really wrap my mind around it. I was so intrigued and I was so impressed. And I said, what do you mean you have a UFO that flies over a cornfield, makes crop circles, grabs your dancers and brings them up to a UFO in space? That's immersive storytelling right there. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration in a nutshell for that concert that you produced in Wave VR?
So in Wave VR, there's a lot of really interesting tools that are available that allow you to actually change the scenes from one thing to another. So essentially, you're given the opportunity to tell a story. Like it's almost like a movie, but you can interact with some of the elements in this movie. You start off and you're in this cornfield in the middle of a farm, and suddenly you see a UFO kind of circling around. But it's all going to this music too. So I try to pick music that kind of goes along with that vibe, and it's kind of like a club-like environment.
It's very futuristic, my friends.
A game-like environment. And so you get taken up to the moon, and then you find out the aliens are cats, and that's
So let's all admit also, like, as much as it will never compare with real life, right? Like partying in VR is awesome in so many ways, it can never compare, but you can't exactly do this in real life unless you have a massive budget, right? So the people in here with these overactive imaginations are really pushing the parameters, and they're coming up with ideas with the different tools that we have to pull off these immersive shows and stretch your imagination. And it's so fascinating. Now, I want to skip ahead a little bit. I was curious. So you mentioned that you DJ with Tribe XR, and you also kind of have a partnership, or you are one of their resident DJs, correct?
Yes. And also, I am doing workshops for Tribe at least once a week, but up to 4 times a week.
Okay.
So there is a subscription process where you can download the app, and you can actually join me in app, and we can play with the decks together, and I can teach you a little bit about what I know about them. And it's a social experience once again. So essentially, Tribe XR is a replica of the Nexus 3000s and the DJM 900, which is the gold standard of mixing equipment currently out there.
Let's geek out for a minute with Natty here, because we want to talk about the feat of the engineering that the team at Tribe XR to basically create these digital representations that work exactly the same as the industry standard hardware, which is the Pioneer, the CDJ 3000s, and a Nexus 900 mixer. What a feat to pull that off. And how cool that you are at the helm of this cutting edge technology. I think some of us take it for granted.
It is so cool.
Fascinating. I have another question for you that some of us that are in the immersive concert industries are very curious about is what are some of the biggest challenges that you find with hosting a weekly party in virtual reality? This is something I'm curious from a producer, from a promoter.
Is just that the tech issues. We're currently in the wild west. None of the apps that we're actually Altspace, as great as it is, it's not 100% designed for this type of event. The type of good quality stereo system, thumping bass, lots of people in one space with lots of amazing, beautiful, interactive objects.
Your shows have some bass, girl.
So that's one of the challenges that you run into, is that actually because some of these tools are not designed for these purposes, that they can behave erratically sometimes. And my team and I have kind of worked on this over a year to try to perfect our system of getting things to run very smoothly. But every now and then, life throws you a curveball and things just don't behave the way that they're supposed to, and that's always a little frustrating, but the show must go on.
Okay, and also I imagined that keeping a consistent attendeeship, this is something, does the attendeeship, is it growing? Is it staying consistent for you?
I would say it depends. It goes up, it goes down. But what I will say is that I am seeing an explosion of new events. Absolutely, every type of event that you can possibly think of, there is one. And there's, like I said, there's lots of new users who are creating those events themselves. And so everyone's kind of spreading out a little bit, but that's okay because we're all growing and learning and collaborating with each other and learning the best way to make new things happen, to make the I don't know, to really push the limit.
It's just burgeoning and really blossoming in here. Now, on a more optimistic note too, what are you looking forward to with future opportunities that VR is presenting to us DJs, and for a future of partying in the metaverse?
Well, I think that now that this pandemic has happened, I feel like the future is it's going to be so different than what we're used to. I feel like these virtual parties and virtual spaces kind of made me realize that any big real life event, music festival, is also now going to have a virtual component associated with it, because there are so many people for all sorts of different type of reasons that can't attend those types of events, fly across the world or fly across the country and spend hundreds of dollars.
It's hard on the global warming situation. It is going to be a future avenue for us to get together and party without having to travel or spend as much money or consume as many, carbon dioxide even. I'm getting off the tangent, but one of the things I'm sure we're all curious, and I know I absolutely love your nightclub that you designed and conceptualized yourself, called Club Atlantis. And I was thinking that we could take everybody portal hopping here in Altspace. Do you want to create a portal for us?
Let's do it.
We can show you guys how this works.
Okay. Excuse me, I put it right through you.
Okay, so everyone sees this.
Star Trek.
We're going to basically click on here and portal hop. Come with us to Club Atlantis. See you in a minute.
This is awesome. So everybody, while they're teleporting into the new world, if you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat. I see some Twitch people on Twitch. I see Tribe XR is in the house. How you doing? And everybody else that is over in Zoom, you can. Oh, they're already there. That was a quick teleport. But if you're in Zoom, you can also hit the Q&A tab and ask some questions. And let's get back to them. And they have the camera person, the paparazzi following them. So welcome back.
Hey.
Welcome.
All right. So everyone, just take an amazing look at this amazing space. I am consistently blown away when I'm in here and how real it feels. The aesthetics are so pleasing. Tell us a little bit about how you conceptualized this design, Natty, the inspiration.
Yeah. So my name kind of has some implications. I thought it might be cool to sort of do this hidden knowledge theme. And when I was thinking about that, I kind of thought of the idea of Atlantis. So the idea of I stumbled upon Atlantis at the bottom of the ocean, and I decided to make a club out of it, as you do. So that's the inspiration for this. And so it's just a club underwater, and
it does have a mystical vibe, which is probably one of the reasons why I love it here. And I'm a scuba diver, so I love being underwater. So it's giving me a little bit of the feeling of being in both. What about these lasers? So you are able to also install and put in your own light shows, which is impressive. Maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So actually, these are part of a kit that was shared with me as by a friend of mine, and people share these kits throughout, throughout Altspace, and they make their own kits. I didn't make these in particular, but I am really excited to get into doing that, because you can really customize your experience by making kits for your hats and other kinds of wearables like jewelry and things like that. So yeah, I'm
Those
hoping
are called
that
MREs, correct?
yes,
MREs.
MREs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. And also you are able to pump through video from OBS or any of your channels, your social media channels.
Yes, and we have a team that helps us basically broadcast from inside of this world to the screen, and then we are also simultaneously running this party every Thursday in Sansar, which is another VR application, and this map also exists there. And so we kind of broadcast that on the screen, and so people can see themselves and they can see the other party.
Okay, so talking about multitasking here, that is no joke, to be able to be three or four different avatars at a time while you're performing. This is really walking between worlds. So we're going to do this again. We're going to portal hop into one of my world builds that I did for a party. And this is inspired by Mario Kart. So everybody come with us.
This is great. So the teleporting, again, if you have any Q&As, just ask them in the chat. And that was Illuminatti's every Thursday night. She does an event in there.
Here we go!
We hear some music. But yeah, it's fantastic. The parties that do, and you go there and you feel like you're really in the club with your friends. And yes, people are dancing at home with their headsets on. And it's like, just like, if the people are like, just dancing, it doesn't matter. You can wear a headset, nobody cares. It's all about having fun. But I think they are back, so let's see what's going on with Mario Kart. Celeste, back to you.
All right, so let's go over to this area. So as we were saying earlier, some of the most fun parts of hanging out in events like these in virtual reality is the interactive element. And so what we can also do is wear our own cars, and it makes you feel like a kid again, right? Okay, so I have my own race car. We were actually racing these carts during a concert. So I had a DJ performance. We were pumping in video through this screen on the stage. And we basically had bumper cars on the dance floor. It was hilarious and everyone had a blast. So the interactive elements here in virtual reality are just out of this world. It's bringing people together from all over the country and all over internationally. We have people from Europe coming in here and Japan. It's just wild who you get in here. And come over to the dance floor with us so we can take a look at it. So we set this up so the DJ was back here at some turntables. We had people coming in and out. And we have the screen up here that you can see wherever the DJ is in real life. We have another guest here. So this was inspired by Mario Kart, and we throw parties here every so often. We'd love for anyone to come down and come party with us. You can follow Illuminatty, or I'm DJ Celeste. Always love sharing with you. And we have another destination that we're really excited to take you to today, which is part of our crew that was talking earlier today from Collimation. And I'm going to create another portal to hop over to. So let's do this. Are you guys ready to hop to the next world?
That is amazing. So everybody that's tuning in, this is in Altspace. So they are in Altspace doing the world hopping.
All right, we have a tag along. Dave is going to come with us.
All right, as we get into this world, this is going to be, I believe, Rhapsody. So we're going to come back to Adrian and Younger in just a moment. And so you see, like, here we go. So anybody, if there's some final questions, I know there's some people tuning in from all over the place. And yes, somebody, Robert was saying that it's just in a club in Sansar the other day. Yeah, and being in multiple VR worlds. All right, where is this?
let's go up the stairs together when they bring us back.
Oh wait, are you in a subway?
All right, are we back?
Are you in a subway?
Yeah, we're in a subway
Ooh.
right now. And so basically this world is a work of art. And I just have to give serious props to Collimation and the team and Rhapsody and Harold and our artists who put this together, because it really is a work of art. So we're coming out of a Brooklyn subway right now. So one of the things I love about this world is it's so passionate, it's so nuanced. We have things like the tape cassettes behind the basketball boards here. Maybe we can go out on the lot. Talking about interactive, we can actually shoot some hoops and keep score in here, which is so fantastic. And so let me give you a brief background about this world. So this is actually Rhapsody's world, and it's a Brooklyn kind of inspired alleyway, again, produced with Collimation and also Dreamland XR. This was used as part of an after party for CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, and we had Rhapsody down here with one of her DJs to blow the roof off the metaverse. And the graffiti art you're looking at is also by an artist named Dan Lish. Dan Lish is a very, very famous artist, and they wanted to incorporate some of, the visual art side into this world. And so one of the ways that they were also helping to make aware how to make money in the metaverse is through NFTs. So this was one of the first live concerts to also include an auction of NFTs, which stands for non-fungible tokens. So this artwork was also for sale. You could buy a digital piece here. And Natty, have you seen this world before? Were you able to perform here yet?
I actually haven't seen this world before.
Oh, okay. So this is the first time. Isn't it awesome?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you love these cassette tapes or what?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we had hip hop artist Rhapsody, whose most recent album was heralded by the Rolling Stone as a masterpiece of hip hop feminism. She was our headliner here, and this was also her concept and inspiration. The team asked her, where she wanted to perform. And let's go over to her DJ booth over here. I think they have a little jacuzzi action here for Natty and I love to get in jacuzzis together in virtual reality. It's like the most ridiculous
what
thing
we do
ever.
On Twitch together. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's where Rhapsody performed, and her DJ also. She was video projected up on the screen, up on this rooftop here. And looks like Ice Cube also had a blimp cameo. If you look directly ahead, we've got a giant blimp floating by. So the people that design these, they just have such a good sense of humor and aesthetics.
In just 30 seconds.
Yeah, so again, the Brooklyn alleyway.
Absolutely amazing. I love this world. I remember seeing this when just right after the show, and even like the details, the artwork is phenomenal, and the detail that goes into something like this, and even like there's hidden like Easter eggs in the windows up in the buildings. It's really amazing. So I'd love to be able to bring back. Let's get everybody back here. What do you say? We get everybody back up here because we want to hear from the people that put this together. So why don't you hang out, Celeste? If you want to go back to the basketball court, or if Adrian Gurav want to tell you, point you around. But let's bring everybody back up here, and voila, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad you guys like the world.
People are asking if we can list the worlds, and people are saying in the chat here, they're like, is it possible to perform in these spaces with? Is it possible to, how do I find these worlds? How do I bookmark, favorite them? So, are you going to be doing more parties?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll let Adrian.
So I think my true favorite thing about this world was that it wasn't at all what we wanted to do at first. Like, it was not at all. So initially we were going to do CES initially, and it was a bunch of, it was poker chips and it was space, and it was this really decked out stage, and it was beautiful, and so then we're talking to Rhapsody, and she's like, oh, that's dope, but I'm not really into the sci-fi, and it's like, oh, well, what are you into? And then she broke down to, well, I want basketball and, like the graffiti and the Brooklyn. And we got a really beautiful opportunity to translate her thought into a visual, and that was where the magic came from, and it. Yeah. And then Guru's like, okay, well, what about this? And then Harold's like, what about this? And then Harold went to work and he started, building this elaborate thing. We went through, hundreds of hours of revisions. And then we're just like, it's not even competitive. It's just like, how can we make it better? How can we make it better? And Guru's like, well, what about this? And then it just became this beautiful melting pot of just our us combining our visions. So it was very unique to be able to jump into the artist's head. Thank you.
Honestly,
I think that's the biggest thing.
You work the magic in here.
Jay, can we get a little bit closer to Celeste so we can hear her better? And that's the other thing about VR, is it's spatialized audio. And that's one of the great things about being able, when you walk into an event, is if there's people over in a group talking over to the right, over to the left, and you walk through, it's like the closer you get, the louder they get. And if somebody's speaking, it's like you'll hear them more in your right ear. And that also makes people to turn. So you actually feel like you're engaged. So like when we're here in this 2D square, it's like, when Adrian talks, I'm like, okay, talk. It's like, I'm listening. It's funny. It's like, hey, down here. So that's one of the the beautiful things about this, and you get that real engaged, natural feel to it.
Absolutely. I think that was the fun part for myself, being immersed in it, understanding the spatial audio, but also too just watching in the space how people commune, and it's very similar the way that we commune in real life. So it does become those groups where you're like, at a party, you're not going to be talking to 100 people at one time. No matter how loud the music is, you're in a condensed thing where you're talking to 3 or 4 of your friends or 5 of your friends at one time, when you're sitting at a table or anything of that nature. And I think we repeat some of that behavior, and the audio is something that leads towards that. We were doing a panel for CES, and literally hearing something on the left or the right ear makes your head, like you said, it makes your head swivel as if you're like looking at someone. So that's one of the biggest things. And then just the interaction of having the music and being able to not only have people inside of there and to have screens where you can play videos, the world has just opened up so you could do so much. And I also love the fact that it's sort of like you have to take the subway in order to get to this world. So it's one of those places that's like, okay, this way stop, which is like, it's almost like our world becomes a subway stop, and that's the only way in, the only way. And it became fun. We put things in there that were sort of like the thing you expect at a block party, where we had, a Collimation backdrop, and we watched people take selfies in groups, on this Collimation backdrop in the middle of the party. It was just, the things you would normally see. So just that awareness, I think, made it just an incredible space.
Yeah, I just heard sirens going on in the background. Was that somebody else's apartment, or was that actually from the space?
To add to the Brooklyn vibe.
you never know nowadays. What is VR?
That was actually from Venice Beach in LA, and I hear it every 5 minutes.
Is it live or is it VR? That's the question.
One question I have, and it's always so fun to philosophize a little bit while we're in here, because it's such a new and revolutionary way for us to hang out, come together, get to know each other. I'm just curious how, Guru and Adrian, how do you think VR is keeping us connected or even deepening our connection to each other? In what ways?
It keeps us connected because of the fact that obviously we've seen, especially during COVID, I have friends that I haven't seen or physically been around for, over a year. I think people want to be connected, and they want to be connected just on a Zoom, if that makes sense. And then two, it's allowing you to meet someone, new, but also you get a better feel for someone when you're having this conversation, back and forth versus like a text or an email or, chat rooms and things of that nature, like the old way where we were like, oh, I'm meeting someone online. Now you at least get a feel for that person, for their personality, having that conversation, I think is a better way of being connected. And then, it's like anything else. People will gravitate towards the interests that are shared interests. And then you start to see the huge range of people. Well, some people aren't into sci-fi. Well, I am. So then you're going to get the guy that likes sci-fi, that likes tech, that likes music, that likes, this particular type of music. So maybe in another room. Those are all the things that bring us together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I tell people you also have to have an open mind when you come in here, because you're going to meet so many different types of people, and you kind of have to be a little bold and brave and just go up and just like pick up a conversation. It takes some getting used to. But for those of us that have found it and actually really, really love being able to relate to people in this way, it's almost like pushing the artistry, the way you can express, the way you can gift someone. You can give someone gifts in here. It takes it to a new level, I think. So being able to maybe even cultivate your own artistic expression a little bit more in social situations with some of the tools they give you, the interactive elements. I think it's so fascinating, and so much innovation going on inside.
Right on. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And I mean, if you think about it, it's like if you text someone, you could talk for an hour, and then you call them and it's like they have nothing to say. And it's like, VR actually gives you that extra layer. People don't have the communication skills that they used to. VR lets you, not have that nervousness and let you express yourself a little bit better. As Guru was saying, through common interest. Maybe it's a Star Trek group. Maybe it's a hip hop or EDM or whatever the group may be. Now you're just finding people who already have similar interests, and it lets you open up and connect with people. I think that's very special, and unfortunately nowadays it's very rare.
I wonder if it's conductive on some level for musicians and people that might naturally be a little bit more shy to actually perform as an avatar. Maybe what do you think, Natty? Do you think like it might
absolutely.
help people? Yeah.
I actually, have struggled with social anxiety for most of my life. And I did notice that after wearing the VR headset and interacting with people in here before the pandemic, anyway, I was actually going out and being more proactive about making friends and being more social. And more confident because I had more practice than, some other people, because I'm literally in this VR headset all the time. So, you end up talking to other creatives and having, so many good times in here. So
I have to remind this girl to go outside sometimes.
Exactly. I have a question for Natty.
That is kind of a fascinating topic.
I do have a question for Natty. And we were talking about like connecting, because we do have just about 5 minutes left. So, and we have a couple questions here. And if anybody has some questions, just throw them into the chat, and we'll try to get to them. So Natty, you're talking about like not going out, and the things what you're doing in Tribe. What's really interesting is we see like you might be tag team DJing with somebody else. Where you're at, like you have the two CDJs here, you have the mixer, you have the two, so you have 4 CDJs, and the fact is, it's like not expensive. I mean, the price, if you were to buy all that hardware, that would be like $10,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're
and
paying
it's $30
like
bucks.
now you're paying $30 for that, and then you maybe some extra effects or something. But can you briefly explain like how that works, where you are actually tag team DJing with somebody that could be somewhere else around the world?
So essentially, the way it works is that we create a little room for ourselves, and we can have up to 16 people in that room. Usually, 4 is about the limit before things start getting a little, hairy with the network issues. But essentially, each person will load a track, and then that track will go on the deck. And it might take a second for it to load for every single person, but once it does, everybody can hear the track at the same time. They can touch all the buttons at the same time. So it's essentially like we were, as if we were standing in front of a real set of DJs, except for we can go through each other and without bumping into each other and stuff.
I like that, without bumping into each other. That's key.
That is a weird sensation, is walking through somebody.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have a couple.
It takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
But it's kind of awesome.
I'd like to go back to Adrian and Guru because I do have a couple questions. Just one of the things somebody was asking,
I think also these multiplayer rooms.
Hey, so
I can hear you.
Okay, so one of the things is basically a question here from Rory was wondering what everybody feels are the technological limiters that, if overcome, would allow the greatest opportunities for them, and the limiters they feel not be overcome. Like, so I guess to break that down is like, what do you feel like are some of the limitations that are going to if VR can break through this? What do you see as that great opportunity? And is there something that you see that maybe VR it might not be able to happen, that might hold it back?
Well,
Absolutely.
For me, it's
yeah. Go ahead. But I'm sorry.
I'll throw it over to the VR world first. Let's go to Nadi and Celeste first.
Well, I was just going to say that, what I really want to see is I want to see hundreds of people in one space. And unfortunately, I think the way that the technology works, from my limited understanding of how the internet works and how it works when I come into this room and I have to load each individual object and also each individual avatar and all their movements and stuff like that.
Of processing.
I think that, with the current technology that we have, it's not quite possible to have 200 people in a room without it being unstable.
I give it 2 years.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I give it.
Hopefully.
The rate the technology is advancing, maybe even less. Huh?
Well, I'm hopeful.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful.
A lot going on. What about Adrian, Guru? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, I mean, with the way edge computing is happening, the power of 5G, we're really, really close. The biggest barrier right now is awareness. VR has for so long been used as a gimmicky tool, and people haven't really got to the core. And I know I use the word gimmicky a lot, but it's just the truth. People haven't got to the core of the power of VR. It's the empathic machine. So once we get there, and once we start telling better stories, once we start making better experiences, then people are going to get hooked. People still compare it to 3D TV, and it's not that. This is actually a way to do so many things that we're just, whether it's financially or physically limited to not doing. Now we have a chance to do these things. So the biggest obstacle is awareness. Once everybody gets a hold of this and has access to actually try these experiences, they will be readily hooked.
Adrian, you have so much insight. I really admire that about you, and I love how deep you take your vision and also your philosophy about what's going on in here, because there is something really special. This is not just me. A lot of people feel this too, that you have a special connection with people like here. I also have a lot of people that are naysayers and think that this kind of technology is actually going to maybe force us apart or make us lose our humanity. But the same people are glued to their computer screens all day long, right? It's just kind of like, what's the difference between putting the computer screen on your eyes so it's all around you? And as long as you take the time to balance it with being outdoors and being with real people, you just can't get completely seduced by this technology, right?
Right on. Yeah,
There's no replacing the real thing. You can't replace the real thing. You can't replace a real concert because it has a certain level of energy. You can't replace a real interaction. Like us talking right now is great. Us talking in person is even better. You can't replace it. What we're trying to do is supplement it. Or create scenarios in which you can do things that you can't normally do.
Right on. And let's go on
Absolutely.
the technical
So
side
fascinating.
as well. Guru, like talking about audio, and I know that's one of the biggest challenges. And we do have to wrap up in just a couple minutes, but I want to wrap up on the tech side, Guru, and then we're going to do some final thoughts from everybody. So, Guru, with the audio, like 3D audio, we hear all about this. We hear Dolby Atmos. We hear all this stuff. What are your thoughts on this? Like, what's happening? Because I know audio is really tough in VR.
Yes. But on the technical side, I think that's something that will be a lot better when we just speed up, right? In terms of what we're in terms of spatial audio, it's already there. The one thing that I think is going to become the dominant factor, or should I say the person who figures this out, is that it's very difficult because of physics and because of the speed of light and just how it works for me to sit in one room, play an instrument, and someone be in another room, play an instrument, someone being in another room, play that instrument, and we all hear each other and can be in sync with each other and broadcast that to an audience. That, because of the speed of something that we are all trying to figure out, okay, well, here's the barrier. We know that the traditional way that we do it, it can't be done that way. But we always, as engineers, try to figure out a way to do things, whether or not that's time delays to the audience that maybe of a 3 or 4 or 5 second nature that we're used to in television. But syncing, 3 or 4 plus musicians to be able to play across the internet together at one time is the holy grail of where audio is right now. And once we figure that out, I think the experiences will be, in a place that you can't even imagine. And and I was answering that question specifically because you said audio is our holy grail right now. That's what we're all trying to figure out.
Exactly. I mean, for everybody, for the musicians, being able to do it in real time, that is going to be fantastic. Thank you, Adrian. I want this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, everyone, for your time, for all your insights and everything, and the creativity and everything. And I want to do a final just run through. It's kind of like, we'll just call it final thoughts. So if you have just a few tips or suggestions for anybody that is breaking in or looking to get involved in VR, because a lot of people also say it's like, oh, this is super expensive. It's like, it's not. It's about time. You can do amazing things with very little money. You can go into Altspace for free and start an event built on templates. The room where everybody started was a template. That was a stage, and there's an outdoor, and there's these, like, you can put basketballs, as Celeste was just playing basketball. So I'd love to get final thoughts on this. I'm going to let's start from the VR world, and we'll start with Nadi, final thoughts, and then Celeste. Any tips, suggestions for anybody that wants to get into it?
Well, I feel like it's important to make the distinction that a VR headset is not a video game console. It's a tool. It can be a tool. And if you look at it that way, I think that, the whole world opens up to you. I mean, I learned how to sculpt. I learned how to DJ. I learned how to perform in front of an audience. I learned how to make events. And I learned, I made a bunch of friends along the way, and many colleagues as well. So I think that if you value those things, then get a VR headset. I think it's very important because the future is here, and soon everyone's going to have a VR headset or something similar and be interacting with the world in a 3D way instead of a 2D way like we have been for the past 25, 30 years.
That's wonderful. Great insight. Celeste, what about you?
Yeah, so for any musicians or DJs or people in the entertainment, digital entertainment sphere here today, I would say make community in here. Do your best to really come in and actively engage with some of the promoters and producers, DJs, and just the general public that comes and hangs out in here. Stay in touch. Discord has been very instrumental. I've noticed that like the techier and geekier you are up on Discord, and there's a lot of news channels, current events that you can be following. Go into different platforms too. Like if you can get into Sansar, Neos is the new kid on the block, and I know Natty's going to be performing in there. There's a lot of world building that all the wave DJs moved to Neos, and that is a next level VR platform. So that one's going to be an up and coming. I foresee that. You have to have a pretty fast computer to get in there, but if you do, come in and geek out with us. Also, there's workshops, networking events. Be sure to hit those up when you can, or start your own, or come join us, and we'll find ways to join forces together and, make art and make money, because we're also in here. We got to figure out how to make, to bring home the bacon.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How to make money. That is one of the big breakthroughs that needs to happen, is figure out how to make money doing all this. And here's one thing, we talked about this. For people that are starting out, Altspace, you can download it and access it from your computer. So if you have a desktop, laptop, powerful enough, you can go to altvr.com and you can download it in 2D. So you could join in.
On a Mac, too.
You won't have the hand movements and everything, but you can still join in. So let's kick over to Guru, coming over to you. Final thoughts.
I think that was one of the points that I was going to make that surprised me when I got into VR. And I think that's one of the entry-level things that people think that they have to wait until they get a headset in order to enter into the world. I think it's a great point you just hit on. That we, can access this through your laptop. So we make sure that we check out our experiences both in the headset on the laptop to make sure that they both feel the same, or they're not going to feel the same, but at least that there's a great experience on the laptop as well. So for all those that are, and also for people that are thinking business-wise, you may be somewhere and set up a meeting and say it's going to be in this particular space, and then someone doesn't have a headset, it can access this world through a laptop. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, just by going in 2D, it just brings you, it's like, whoa, wait a second, this is really totally different. Whoa, and then they get the headset and it's like, they just, it like leveled up right there. So
yes,
it's really great. So we're going to kick over to Adrian. What do you got?
Two very, very solid things. I think number one is make it organic, make sure that people have a reason to be in this. How is this giving you more value than a Zoom meeting or a phone call or FaceTime, because it is work. Don't get me wrong. It's not hard, but it is a lot of work. And getting something together at a high caliber that people are going to want to return to, it does require a lot of sweat equity, and or money. So just make it organic, stick to the story. And I know I say the story a lot, but stick to the story. And two, and this is like the biggest thing for me, is don't try to do it alone. There's a huge community out there. There's a lot of Discord support. We went and we got, Guru knows everything about audio, so I don't need to try to figure out audio. Harold is a brilliant creative, so I don't need to try to figure out different creative things, Kaz, Layla, Christy, Doug. There's so many people that help bring this together. Celeste, Peter, reach out to your community. There's a lot of people who just want to make dope content, who really just want to hit all the limits and extend the boundaries. So utilize the resources. That's my biggest thing. Don't try to go at it alone, because you'll be overwhelmed. And there are people who want to create and build.
That's amazing. And right now there's so many people that are willing to just want to work together. They want to find people that are like, let's do something cool. And you're going to find that. And that's part of the community. And going back to what Celeste was saying, she was even saying, there are networking events in VR with the creators, and you get to meet some fantastic people. So with that being said, I want to bring everybody back on the stage here. And thank you so much, everyone. This has been great. We're just going to wrap up. But everybody that's here, just hang out just for a moment as we wrap up. And thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Guru. Thank you, Celeste. Thank you, Illuminatty, Natasha. And thank you, Jake. We want to give a big shout out to Jake, who is that behind that camera. He has been the paparazzi doing all that great camera
work. Jake.
So thank you, Jake. Fantastic, fantastic job. And thank you to everyone that has tuned in. And also, thank you to the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment and everything. You can go find out more about the New York Music Month of Extended Edition at nycmusicmonth.nyc. And again, also, if you want to find out more about the shows here that we're doing with Music Industry City, you can go to musicindustrycity.com. And I just want to bring everybody back. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Thank you.
Peace.
Hang out, guys. All right, hang out, everybody.